Every question you ask an AI model burns up 1,000 times more electricity than a simple web search. Multiply that by a billion queries a day, and you don't have a software story anymore. You have a power problem. For 2 years, Wall Street has traded artificial intelligence through one lens: chips, NVIDIA GPUs, compute, but the real constraint has quietly moved somewhere the market isn't looking: to the wall socket. This is the bottleneck almost nobody is pricing correctly, and it cuts both ways. From 2021 to 2024, the game was silicon. You won by securing GPUs and low latency fiber. Grid impact was a footnote, a problem for later. This is the constraint moved. Later has arrived. The binding constraint has relocated from the chip to the grid. Today, the moat isn't your algorithm. It's where you can physically get power, land, cooling, and interconnection. That has become harder than writing the model itself. The proof is already on the ground. Data centers with financing secured and land bought are sitting frozen, waiting on generation that does not yet exist. Start with the physics, because the physics is unforgiving. The traditional server racks pull 5 to 15 kilowatts. An AI optimized rack pulls 30 to over 100. New campuses are being designed for hundreds of megawatts, the biggest outliers approaching a full gigawatt. That's the draw of a large nuclear reactor for one building. Zoom out and the numbers get vertical. Goldman Sachs sees global data center power demand rising roughly 165% by 2030. Grantor says total demand tops 1,000 terawatt hours next year. Next year, note it down. More electricity than the entire country of Japan consumes. The reality gap. Here is where the story turns. Across 84 tracked AI facilities in the US, 43 gigawatts of the capacity is planned, but only 49 of them, 16.6 gigawatts, are actually operational and drawing power today. The rest is under construction or merely announced. Land secured, power not flowing. Sit with the gap. The market is pricing in 43 gigawatts of AI growth. The physical grid is sustaining 16. The distance between these two numbers is where fortunes will be made and lost. Decoupled locks. And the two halves of this build out run on a completely different clocks. A GPU depreciates in 3 to 4 years. A high voltage substation takes 3 to 5 years just to build. Grid interconnection, 3 years and counting. So the machine is out at roughly the same speed the infrastructure to power them gets approved. You are pouring concrete for the generation to house hardware that obsolete before the paint dries. Energy islands. The hyperscalers know this. So they are routing around the grid entirely. Microsoft is committing north of $15 billion in the UAE. Meta is building a $10 billion campus engineered to skip the grid connection altogether. The strategy is simple. Stop chasing fiber, start chasing megawatts. Move to the permissive power-rich jurisdictions and self-generate with on-site gas or fuel cells to bridge the void. They are building energy islands when the smartest capital allocators bypass the public grid that tells you exactly how tight power has become. The scarcity trade. This is the trade the market has fallen in love with. Call it the scarcity trade. If power is the gate, the money flows to whoever owns the gate. Dispatchable generation and grid infrastructure, not just the GPU buyers. Utilities have added roughly $500 billion in value over 2 years, their first back-to-back 40% run since 2003. And there is a serious bull case underneath it. Janus Henderson argues the real risk isn't a glut. It's under delivery of 157 gigawatts announced, maybe 85 actually gets built by 2030, in that world power stays scarce and scarcity gets paid. The contrarian warning. But here is what the tap is ignoring, and it's coming from the people closest to the meter. The CEO of Vistara says interconnection queues may be overstated by 3 to 5 times. The CEO of Constellations put it bluntly, load is being overstated and we need to pump the brakes. Independent research backs them. Grid Strategies finds utilities are planning for about 50% more demand than the tech industry itself projects. At one large utility, nearly a third of proposals were cancelled in a single year. The generators are telling you the demand number is soft. The stock market is not listening. The mechanism has a name, phantom demand. A developer needs one site with 100 megawatts, so they file the same request at 3 different utilities to swap whoever can deliver first. One real project, 300 megawatts of interconnection request on the books. Layer in colocation, operators and infrastructure investors all counting the same load, and the headline number inflates into something that was never real. Some of the demand behind this rally is being counted 2 or 3 times over. The stranded cost, which raises the question nobody is really wants to ask. Who pays when the phantom load evaporates? US utilities are forecasting $1.1 trillion in capital spending through 2029. If they build substations and transmission for demand that never shows, those assets stand, and the bill lands on ordinary ratepayers. PJM customers alone face over $16 billion in supply cost just to serve data centers. The politics are already turning. Georgia and California are advancing laws to shield households from the connections cost, where the regulator steps in and the guaranteed demand thesis gets a lot less guaranteed. The historical rhyme: railroads, dark fiber, and AI power. We have watched this story. 1800s railroads, 1900s dark fiber. Every infrastructure supercycle is built on optimistic forecast, overshoots into the redundant capacity, and ends in write-downs and consolidation. The difference this time, unbuilt interconnection rights can't be cheaply repurposed the way dark fiber eventually was. But this isn't a story about the bubble bursting. It's the bullwhip. Long supply chains overshoot and undershoot in waves. Expect it led data halls and grid bottlenecks in the short run, and the foundational backbone in the long run. Today's surplus becomes tomorrow's platform. The investable stack. So, how do you actually position around this? Think in 3 layers. The base generation and the independent power producers. Constellation, Vistara, and Talon. Nuclear operators still filled as utilities while they sign 20 years deals with the hyperscalers. The middle. Grid and power equipment. GE Vernova sitting on a record $163 billion backlog plus Quanta and Eaton. And the top facility infrastructure. Vertiv, Comfort System, Bloom Energy. One honest caveat: the scarcity trade is now consensus. Multiples are stretched. Vertiv trades over 50 times forward earnings. The edge no longer comes from being early. It comes from telling deliverable power apart from phantom power. Holding 2 truths, which leaves you holding 2 truths at once. Physically, power is the real bottleneck. The part is not a bubble. Financially, the headline demand behind this rally is inflated by duplicate speculative phantom requests. The market is blindly pricing in absolute scarcity. The alpha belongs to whoever can tell the two apart. Watch the tails. Utility earnings tone, the state regulators, substation lead times, and the gap between hyperscaler capex and the actual megawatt energized. The first large cancellation in the moment phantom demand becomes visible to everyone. That's the megawatt moat. The question isn't whether AI needs the power, it whether we can build it fast enough, where the grid actually allows. And these are the 5 indicators to watch: utility earnings tone, regularity fault lines, hardware lead times, the capex megawatt cap, the black swan event, which is also a risk. And here is holding truth, and here is the final holding two truths at once: physical reality and the financial reality. We already have discussed. The final takeaway is the market is blindly pricing an absolute scarcity. The true alpha belongs to those who can differentiate deliverable megawatts from a phantom request. Hope you got this video helpful, and if you like this video, please like and subscribe our channel. Thank you.